Hi, so today is probably my last video of the week for Food Allergy Awareness Week. It's coming to a close. I will be making more videos in the future just because I kind of like it. And I've heard back from a lot of people saying that I've helped them in many different ways, and that really touches my heart, and it makes me feel like I have some kind of purpose. So today, for my last video for Food Allergy Awareness Week, I want to talk about, again, something really important to me, should be important to you too, and that is these guys, epinephrine. The main thing I really wanted to talk about, the theme here, is that don't be afraid to use these, please. I hear and I feel, and I've experienced it myself, so much fear around giving these. I can definitely understand. All I can say is that I walked around like that until, terrified, until I actually had to use one. I was put in that situation. The writing was on the wall. I was like, I had to use it, right? My son was really going downhill fast, and his face turned blue, and he couldn't breathe, and he was like drooling because his throat was swelling. And what I ended up using was this one. It's called Avi-Q. He was only 4 years old at the time, so it wasn't this dose. This is the adult. The red one is the adult. The blue one is the kid's dose. And I had to use that, and I was like really freaking out. My husband was able to secure him in a way that he wouldn't move, and I did the injection in his thigh, and it was shocking because he was only 4, right? And he was so afraid, and he had his eyes closed. And after I gave it, he said it was like a second of a pause, and he was like, "Did you do it yet, Mommy?" And I was like, "What?" Oh my God, let me make sure I did it right. And I'm like, looking at his leg, and I found the little tiny hole where it went in. So I knew I did it right. And it was very obvious within about 10 seconds that it went to work, and as soon as you experience that, you witness the rapid turnaround of those symptoms and see how much better they feel. They can breathe, they can talk again. He was like gurgling right before, and it was just, it wasn't good, right? And within 10 seconds, he was like happy and looked totally fine. So, I can understand the fear, and I hope that people aren't going to walk around in fear until they have to use it for the first time. I'm hoping that this video will put you more at ease. So that's really my main purpose here. And then about a year and a half later, I had to use this one because this one wasn't available for a period of time, and he was actually unconscious because he had passed out because his blood pressure went straight down. And after I gave this, he woke up and was doing a lot better. So 2 times I've had to use it in 6 years, and I can't look back. Actually, it's impossible for me to look at these in a negative way. I will never look at them as negative again. This is like my heart now. Saved my son's life. And I really just wish for everybody to feel that way about them and not walk around with this sense of dread. I think, a lot of it is that it's a needle, right? And some people are just like really freaked out by needles. I'm personally not. But, but if you think about it, in the past times when you've gotten needles, how terrible was it really? When you think about, let's see, getting a needle in my leg or facing a possible intubation with a tube down my throat so I can breathe, so you kind of have to put it in perspective. So, I understand that. Also, a lot of parents fear that their child is going to wiggle around, so they do need to be restrained and immobilized. There are suggested positions and holds for your child that I can definitely send along if anybody wants to see that. So, the risk of that is slim if they're properly held in place. And there are even positions where you're the only person there. It's just you and your child. You can properly secure them down while you give the injection. But also, the chances of that are becoming slimmer and slimmer because the hold time for these has gone down. It used to be, 10 seconds that you had to hold it in place, but now it's just only 2 or 3 seconds. Especially with this one, the AviQ, the needle actually doesn't even stay in the leg. It's kind of like, it goes in and out really rapidly. So I feel like the chance is even slimmer because it's just so quick. So that's another benefit to this one. I just love this. I can send information about this if anybody. I don't get reimbursed. I just love it. I'm a huge fan. And then just another thing that people fear is, the cardiac effects. And, there are risks associated with giving epinephrine, but my understanding of it is that you, the risk of, as long as it's given properly, the proper dose, right, and an auto-injector dose that's prescribed by your doctor, it should be the proper dose for their weight, so it's important to stay on top of that, to make sure you have the proper dose for your child's weight and for your weight. But as long as it's given auto-injector in the thigh muscle of your leg, the chances of a cardiac event are smaller than if you had it like intravenously and other parts of the body. So you could research that a little bit more. And also, my understanding is that kids in general have less of a chance of cardiac effects than adults because, don't quote me on this, but I think it has something to do with their heart rate is already higher to begin with. So yeah, and then just something else to think about, right? So the earlier that you give this, the better. So let's talk about anaphylaxis. So I have a lot of people who say, I hear people all the time, they're like, oh, I have food allergies, but I'm not anaphylactic. And it's like, I'm going to be the one to break it to you. If your doctor diagnosed you as having a food allergy that requires a prescription to epinephrine, you're anaphylactic. There's no way of knowing whether you would have anaphylaxis or not. And your previous reactions from food are absolutely no indicator of what your future reactions will be in terms of the severity. So that's why we carry these. But, if you look at the statistics, the earlier it's given, the better when we know anaphylaxis is presenting. You have less of a chance of being hospitalized, like admitted to the hospital. Everybody has to go to the hospital after giving epinephrine to be monitored to make sure the reaction doesn't come back. But I'm not talking about going to the emergency room. I'm talking about actually being admitted for a hospital stay. Much lower chance of that if you give this early. And you also have better outcomes and also less of a chance of a rebound reaction or a biphasic reaction, which just means it comes back. Like it subsides for a little while and then it comes back, and it can come back for like up to, I think, 72 hours later. So the earlier you give this, the less likely that is to happen. So let's talk about what anaphylaxis really is, right? Because people are like, I'm not anaphylactic. It's like, well, you know what? If you've had more than one symptom, you're anaphylactic. If you've had, if you have one of these, you're anaphylactic. And people tend to think of anaphylaxis as like the very end when they can't breathe anymore. And that's just not the case. Anaphylaxis is a body-wide event. It's a multi-symptom event. So if you have hives on your face and vomiting and your stomach hurts, right? That's anaphylaxis. If you have wheezing and like your mouth is all swollen, that's anaphylaxis. And in my experience, that's when I would give one of these. So I can only stress that you speak with your allergist and clarify any concerns, questions, confusion that you have about what anaphylaxis really is and when you're supposed to use this. And there are also resources online. FARE, F-A-R-E, which stands for Food Allergy Research Education, has a great emergency action plan on their website that we use that like really clarifies what the symptoms are and a severe reaction versus like a mild reaction, and their recommendation about when they would give epinephrine. And you can ask your doctor about that. So, the earlier you give this, the better. It's the only medication that will stop anaphylaxis. Antihistamines like Benadryl and Zyrtec are not going to stop anaphylaxis. In my eyes, for our purposes, they're comfort drugs. I give them later to just ease some of the itchiness. But that's about it. So, one other thing I wanted to cover is our teens, right? So, we're talking about EpiPens and epinephrine. You need to carry it in order to use it. And there really are no exceptions to that rule. And teens and young adults are notorious for not carrying this. I just saw some statistics that came out from a conference that said that 47% of high school kids with food allergies carry their EpiPens. It needs to be 100%, okay? And it's even worse among the college kids. It's only 10%. So we are failing them as parents if we're not making sure that they're carrying this at all times. And if we need to be consistent also. If your kid tells you, I'm going out with my friends, see you later, and you're like, wait a minute, where are your Eppies? And they're like, oh, I don't need them because I'm not going to eat. No, that's not happening. You got to put your foot down. I may not give medical advice, but I'm going to give parenting advice. And that is that you need to make sure they're carrying this. And we need to change these statistics. We need to get those numbers way up. They need to be 100%. So, kids, they feel like, oh, I'm embarrassed, or, I don't know how to carry this. Hang on. Okay, sorry, my phone rang. So as I was saying, we need to be consistent. We need to put our foot down, and they think it's kind of like lame to carry it around, or, they don't know how to carry it around. It's hard for boys. Another reason why I love this, because it fits in your pocket. But anyway, we need to find a way that they're going to be comfortable carrying it around and ensure that it happens. And further to that, I would even talk to their friends about it. And you know what? I don't care if I'm embarrassing my kid. I'm going to ask my kids' friends to watch out for them and reinforce that it's okay for them to carry this. I don't want them to feel embarrassed. I don't want them to feel like people are making fun of them for carrying it. Everybody needs to just feel comfortable carrying this. It's your lifeline. It's not going to help you in that moment if it's sitting at home in your room. Okay, and with anaphylaxis, we're talking seconds to minutes to act on it. So it's not going to be time to call 911. And my gosh, some people live out in the boondocks. Who knows how long it'll take for somebody to get to them. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I hope this helps. And, just don't be afraid. Take my word for it, please. Okay? We need to do the right thing, and we need to stop seeing so many people dying from this. And there's only one way to do that, and that's to get over our fears of this and to act properly when we need to, and to have it available when we need it. All right, thanks for watching.